Have you ever wondered why a chunk of sodium reacts so violently, like literally exploding when you drop it in water, while neon gas just sits there, completely unreactive? Or why oxygen fuels a raging fire, but helium barely reacts with anything at all? Well, the answer isn't magic. It's actually hidden right there in the arrangement of the tiny electrons inside those atoms.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode one of the absolute most important topics in all of chemistry. We're talking about electronic configuration. This is literally the blueprint of matter itself. Understanding exactly how electrons are arranged inside an atom is your ultimate key to predicting how an element reacts, how it bonds, and even its magnetic properties. So, let's dive right into this.
If you're a Class 12 student, or you're gearing up for JEE or NEET, you are absolutely in the right place. Here's our game plan for today. We're hitting the atomic blueprint, the 3 filling rules, quantum numbers, writing configurations, those tricky chromium and copper exceptions, and finally, a quick exam revision.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the atomic blueprint. You know the nucleus is at the center, packed tightly with protons and neutrons. But for us, chemists, the real action happens outside that nucleus, with the electrons.
Now, a lot of people think electrons just float around randomly in empty space. But they don't. They live in very specific, probabilistic neighborhoods called orbitals. You can think of an orbital as a 3D cloud, where you are highly likely to find an electron at any given moment. I really need you to take a mental screenshot of these orbital capacities, because it is an absolute must-know for your exams. Orbitals are organized into subshells. You've got the spherical S subshell with 1 orbital, holding a max of 2 electrons. The dumbbell-shaped P subshell has 3 orbitals, maxing out at 6 electrons. Then the D holds up to 10, and the F holds up to 14. Just lock those maximums into your brain right now: 2, 6, 10, and 14. Okay, Section 2, the 3 electron filling rules. How do these electrons actually decide which of those subshells to move into? Well, it all comes down to 3 fundamental laws. First up is the Aufbau principle. Aufbau is actually German for building up. This rule tells us that electrons will always occupy the lowest energy orbitals first before they even think about moving to higher ones. It's exactly like stadium seating. When fans rush into a general admission stadium, they always fill those lowest, closest front rows first, right? Nobody hikes up to the nosebleeds until the bottom is full. Electrons do the exact same thing. Because of that, you have to know the filling sequence. It starts at 1s, then 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 4s, and then 3d. But honestly, memorizing that straight is a nightmare. For your exams, you absolutely want to use the diagonal rule trick. You write the subshells in columns and draw parallel arrows diagonally downward. It perfectly generates the sequence every single time and is a total lifesaver when you're under pressure. Rule number 2 is the Pauli exclusion principle. In practical terms, this means a single orbital can hold a maximum of 2 electrons. But, and this is a big but, they absolutely must have opposite spins. We represent this with an up arrow and a down arrow. Listen to me. Never ever put 2 upward arrows in the same orbital. It is a classic rookie mistake, and examiners love trying to catch you on it. And that brings us to our 3rd law, Hund's rule. When electrons are filling degenerate orbitals, which just means orbitals that have the exact same energy, like the 3p orbitals, they will occupy them singly before they start pairing up. My favorite analogy for this is the hotel room rule. If you and your friends check into a hotel, and there are 3 empty rooms for the same price, everybody gets their own empty room first. You only start sharing and pairing up when you literally run out of empty rooms. It just minimizes repulsion and keeps the atom stable. Moving right along to Section 3, understanding quantum numbers. If orbitals are the general neighborhoods, quantum numbers are the hyper-specific street addresses. Every single electron in an atom gets a totally unique 4-part postal address. You've got the principal number, N, which is like the city. It tells you the main energy level. The azimuthal number, L, is the street. It's the shape of the orbital, like S, P, D, or F. The magnetic number is the exact house, telling us how the orbital is oriented in space. And finally, the spin number is the specific person inside the house, spinning either +1/2 or -1/2. Pauli's rule from earlier basically just means no 2 electrons can ever have this exact same 4-part address. All right, Section 4, we know the rules, we know the addresses. Let's actually put this theory to work and write out some configurations. Here is your bulletproof 5-step checklist for writing any element's configuration. Step 1, find the atomic number. Step 2, for a neutral atom, that's your total number of electrons.
Step 3. Start filling the orbitals using that Aufbau diagonal sequence. Step 4. Follow Pauli, max 2 electrons per orbital. And Step 5. When you hit those P, D, or F subshells, use Hund's rule. Single rooms first, then pair up.
So let's do a quick prediction. Say we have calcium. Its atomic number is 20, which means we have 20 electrons to seat in our stadium. How would you write its configuration? Just think about that sequence for a second.
And here's what you should get. You just count them right out. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, and finally 4s2. If you add up all those little superscripts, they hit exactly 20. But let's be real, writing all that out for massive elements gets super tedious. So chemists use a massive shortcut called noble gas notation. We just substitute the inner full shells with the symbol of the closest previous noble gas. For calcium, argon naturally covers the first 18 electrons perfectly. So we just slap argon in brackets, write 4s2 next to it, and we're done. Huge time saver.
Okay, pay very close attention to Section 5, because this is exactly where examiners love to set traps. Let's talk about the rule breakers, the chromium and copper exceptions. Chromium has an atomic number of 24. Now, if you're just blindly following the Aufbau principle, you'd probably end its configuration with 3d4-4s2. But nope, the actual configuration is argon 3d5-4s1. Why on earth does it do that? Because a perfectly half-filled d subshell, which is exactly 5 electrons, is incredibly stable. So the atom literally just borrows an electron from the 4s orbital to perfectly half-fill that 3d orbital. And copper pulls the exact same stunt, but for a completely filled subshell. It's atomic number 29. You'd expect 3d9-4s2, right? But a fully packed d10 subshell offers so much extra stability that it steals an electron from the 4s. The actual configuration becomes argon 3d10-4s1. If you take away anything for your JEE or NEET prep today, memorize these two exceptions. They show up all the time. We're in the final stretch. Let's hit Section 6 for a rapid-fire exam focus and quick revision to lock everything in.
Here are the 3 massive pitfalls you have to avoid. Mistake 1, messing up the Aufbau sequence. Just use the diagonal rule trick. Mistake 2, ignoring Hund's rule by pairing electrons in a room before everyone has their own single bed. And mistake 3, as we just saw, is completely forgetting the chromium and copper exceptions. Dodge those 3 traps, and you are golden.
Let's quickly summarize. Electronic configuration completely dictates an atom's reactivity. It's governed by 3 rules. Aufbau builds from the bottom up. Pauli says max 2 electrons per orbital, opposite spins. Hund says single occupancy before pairing. Don't forget your maximums, S2, P6, D10, F14, and definitely star those CR and CU exceptions in your notes. Remember how we started by asking why sodium explodes while neon does nothing? Well, now you know. Sodium has that one lone, highly reactive electron sitting right in its outermost shell, while neon is completely content with a perfectly stable, filled configuration. This tiny, invisible blueprint literally builds the entire macroscopic world around us. If shifting a single electron can turn an element from a boring gas into a lethal explosive, imagine what other secrets are hiding in the periodic table. If this explainer helped you understand electronic configuration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends preparing for CBSE, JEE, and NEET. Comment below and tell us which chemistry topic you'd like us to explain next. Keep studying, and we'll see you in the next one.